I'm Mike. Welcome to my mind. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Inside the Mind of Mike. For today's episode, I'm going to be talking about books, or rather, one book series in particular, the Redwall series by Brian Jacques. Now first, I'll give you a little bit of background. Brian Jacques was a British author who was active from about mid to late 80s until his death in 2011. He wrote a grand total of 22 books in the Redwall series, starting with the original book, Redwall, and ending with the book The Rogue Crew, which was published after his death. It really was very sad for me when he did pass away because his series was probably my ultimate favorite series of books growing up. Brian Jacques was the guy to read for me. I read every single one of his books multiple times, and just a great author. And I feel like his books are great to read even if you are an adult. I don't feel like just because you're an adult you have to abandon children's books and say, well, I'm an adult now, I can't read children's books because I'm an adult. No, if you think the book is a truly good story, and if it is a truly good story, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't continue to read them as an adult. It's just something that you should really do. Now, with the Redwall series, there's two different ways you can read them. There is the order in which they were written, which is a little bit more confusing, because the first book to be written was Redwall, and that book takes place roughly in about the dead center of the chronology of the Redwall series, because the books weren't written in chronological order of the events that take place inside the stories. They were mainly written as the ideas came into his head, which is kind of what I try to do with the show. Things pop into my head, I make the show. And that can be a little confusing if you read them that way. Primarily because the first book is Redwall, the second book is Mossflower, which takes place way before the events that take place in the first book, so it makes it a little confusing. I prefer to read them in the chronological order. It's relatively easy to find. All you have to do is type in Google chronological order of the Redwall series and you can find it. Each book runs between probably about 400 to 500 pages. Some are a little bit less, some are a little bit more. So they're not terribly difficult to read. They're very fun, very easy to read, and they're really great. I mean, they tell fantastic stories. They are about talking animals, so if that's not your thing, I understand, but the talking animals, it really makes it very interesting because as a children's book, it makes it a little bit more intriguing to a child to have it be animals than it to be humans, so it's completely understandable that he wrote it that way. It is also interesting to note that the first book was actually written so he could read it to a school for children that was for the deaf and blind. And he also knew sign language, so it was a very interesting way of starting the story. And one of his friends told him he thought it could be published, and many years later, 22 books later, and it is just still one of my favorite series. Now, if you are going to read the series, the book you're going to want to start with is this one, Lord Brocktree. That is just a great story. I just started reading it again myself. I've read it multiple times. It's a fantastic story, and in terms of the chronology, it does come first. So, that's a good place to start. It's about the Badger Lord, Lord Brocktree, traveling to the mountain of Salamandastron, and just really fun, really good story. And I believe it's worthwhile to read for basically anyone who wants a good story. They are all very solid, very good books. They're relatively easy to find. You can buy them on Amazon, or Barnes & Noble sells many of them. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are available in electronic form, so you can rent them or read them online or go to your local library. That's how I did it when I was younger. Went to my local library, loaded up on books, brought them home, read them all, stayed up way too late doing it, and it's just a great time to read. It's one of the series that I feel would do well from a film adaptation. I mean, it would take a long time. There's 22 books. That's a lot of movies to make. But I think they could do it, and I would love to see it done. But we'll see if they do it or not. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else more I can tell you about this series? I really can't sell it enough. I mean, it is just a fantastic series. Young or old, it'd be great. If you love reading, it's worth a try. A lot of people probably don't know about it because maybe they didn't get into it when they were younger or something. And I know a lot of people nowadays seem to have a little bit of an issue getting into reading. I feel that kind of has to do a lot with the modern media, with, YouTube, which I'm talking to you on right now. So, I'm on YouTube too, but hear me out. And people, when they watch movies or TV shows, like, everything is laid out for them. All the visuals, just everything is, boom, there. And so, it doesn't leave a lot to the imagination. That's why I love books, because you use your imagination to make it play out in your mind. And I feel like that is a really great form of entertainment. The last book I read, I ended up staying up until 3 in the morning finishing it because I was that engrossed in the story. It's just really, really good. If you aren't really that into reading, I recommend that you try to find a really good fictional book. I mean, and I'm talking a good book. That's why I think that the Redwall series is such a great place to start, because it's an easier read. It's a fantastic story. Every book is a fantastic story. It's one of the few series where I feel like the books just kept getting better and better and better as he wrote them. They didn't get repetitive, and it's just a fantastic way to start if you're not really that into reading at this time. So I'd highly recommend you give it a try, give Redwall a shot, give reading a chance, and hopefully you find something you like. For the next episode, I may do some music, another movie, another book, I'm not sure. Gonna figure it out, but I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.